guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new to my channel, welcome. This is my review for Marriage Bootcamp Hip Hop Edition Season 16, Episode 9. I did do reviews for episodes 1 through 8, so if you did not see those, please go check those out, and let's just get right into this review because this is the last episode right before the season finale. So this is the lie detector test episode of Marriage Bootcamp, and if you've watched previous seasons of Marriage Bootcamp, you know they do this every single time, and we all know that lie detector tests are not 100% accurate, so for entertainment purposes, we're just going to go with whatever result the lie detector test says that the person got, whether they failed or they passed, and whatever questions they decide to ask, because we already know that in true Marriage Bootcamp fashion, they change the questions around based to fit their narrative, okay? So basically, Jocelyn and Ballistic were arguing all morning about Stu because Ballistic feels like Stu is constantly staring at Jocelyn and he has an issue with it, and so he starts questioning Jocelyn about it. Now, the reason why he feels like Stu has something for Jocelyn is because Michel'le in one of the episodes had called Stu out in front of everybody, basically saying that he thinks that Jocelyn's the most beautiful thing ever and that he stopped to stare at her all the time, and she should never have done that. She should have kept it to herself or just kept it between her and Stu because she blurted that shit out. Now Ballistic and Jocelyn are arguing this entire friggin' episode, but Ballistic needs to get a grip. I honestly don't believe that Jocelyn wants Stu. He doesn't even look like somebody who Jocelyn would get with, and not just that, I just feel like he's doing too much. I just feel like he's mad for no reason, and he's just trying to use that as an excuse to be mad at Jocelyn, because I think it's very clear that Jocelyn does not want Stu, and I don't think Stu wants Jocelyn. Even if he is physically attracted to her, that doesn't necessarily mean that he wants her or that he's going to be disrespectful and try anything. So I honestly think the whole argument is petty. So the petty argument between Jocelyn and Ballistic continue when everyone gets called down to the boot camp room to give their question they want asked for the lie detector test to Dr.Ish and Judge Toller. And basically Jocelyn yells in front of everybody that Ballistic has been questioning her all morning about what's going on between her and Stu. And Stu definitely feels uncomfortable in this scene, you could tell. And Michel'le seems like she's uncomfortable with it as well. But Michel'le is the one who put the bug in everybody's ear that, Stu was attracted to Jocelyn, and she should not have done that. But at the same time, I feel like Jocelyn needs to learn how to keep some shit private, and she also needs to learn how to stop trying to emasculate Ballistic because she does that shit all the time. But Ballistic is being really petty in this episode. I think that he was doing too much. I don't think that the whole thing between Stu and Jocelyn is that serious. I barely even see them interact with each other. I can tell Jocelyn's not attracted to Stu, and even if Stu is attracted to Jocelyn, so far he hasn't done anything inappropriate to her. Ballistic is just being dramatic, and I don't know if it's that he's nervous because of the lie detector test, or if he's just finding reasons to argue with Jocelyn because the season is about to end and he has to make a decision on if he wants to stay with her or not. Now, Jocelyn even blurted out that Ballistic said that he was going to knock Stu out, so definitely made things even more uncomfortable. Hopefully Stu and Ballistic will be able to sit down and have a conversation at some point, but in the meantime, Ballistic ended up getting up and storming out of the room because he's pissed off at Jocelyn. So it is time for the couples to ask what questions they want answered for the lie detector test, and if Judge Toller does not like their question, she gets to overrule it and pick a question she wants answered. So Michel'le and Stu end up going first, and she wants to know if Stu was in love with her the first month that they met, and Stu wants to know if Michel'le really loves him. CeeLo and Shawnee end up going next, and CeeLo's first question ended up getting overruled by Judge Toller because she didn't like it. He asked her first, have you genuinely changed? And Judge Toller changed it to, are you committed to CeeLo out of convenience? And then Shawnee asked, does he want to marry her? Ajua and Styles P's questions were, Ajua wanted to know if Styles P had feelings for the woman that he cheated on her with, and Styles P wanted to know if Ajua holds him responsible for the death of their daughter. Now, Bianca and Joseph end up going next, and I know there's going to be some drama when they get their results because Bianca asked him, are you emotionally involved with anyone else? And Joseph asked her if she was pregnant by another man this year. Now, Ballistic ends up getting talked back into returning to the challenge because he ended up walking away because he was mad at Jocelyn, and Dr.Ish got him to go back downstairs. And as soon as he got back downstairs to the boot camp room, him and Jocelyn started arguing to the point where Jocelyn says she doesn't have any questions she wants to ask him. And so Judge Toller made their questions up herself. She made Jocelyn ask Ballistic if he wants to marry her, and made Ballistic ask Jocelyn if she plans to leave him if he does not propose by the 8-month mark. So Dr. Ish ends up pulling Jocelyn aside to talk to her about her argument with Ballistic, and Styles P is downstairs trying to tell Stu why Ballistic may have a problem with him, because in the beginning of the season, Stu was really drunk and he said that if Michel'le wanted to have a threesome with anybody in the house, that somebody would be missing their wife. And so Styles P feels like that may be why Ballistic feels the way that he does, but Stu is not believing that. He feels like the reason why Ballistic feels the way that he does about him and Jocelyn is because Michel'le was the one who blurted out in front of everybody that, Stu was attracted to Jocelyn, which I agree. I think that that's the reason why Ballistic feels some type of way, because Jocelyn also said in this episode that Ballistic keeps bringing up that even Michel'le knows that there's something between the two of them. So I do believe that that's the reason why. But I think that Ballistic needs to get over himself. I don't think it's that serious. Him and Jocelyn have so many issues and they haven't even been together for that long, and yet she wants him to marry her by the 8-month mark. It makes absolutely no sense to me at all. Now, while they're taking their lie detector test, it is definitely a lot of tension. It's very nerve-wracking because everybody's nervous that even if they move, flinch, or their heart starts to beat a little bit faster, that it's going to give them a false result on their test. And so everybody's nervous, especially Bianca. So there was this moment in this episode that I felt like Jocelyn was being really rude to both Stu and Michel'le. Stu had walked into the kitchen where she was at, and she was being really rude to him, telling him that he better go talk to Ballistic. And she was just talking down to him like he was a little ass boy. And I was like, why is she speaking to him like that? And I was like, no wonder why Ballistic doesn't want to marry her, because she talks to men like they're little ass boys. And a lot of men don't like that. I'm sorry, but they don't. Just like we don't like to be spoke to like we're little girls when we're grown women. Men don't like to be talked to like they're little boys either. So I feel like Jocelyn had a nerve to be talking to somebody else's man like that. And I feel like, Michel'le should have checked her, because it was also an awkward moment in this episode between Michel'le and Jocelyn where she was really disrespectful to Michel'le. Michel'le even apologized to her for putting it out there that Stu was attracted to her. And, at one point Jocelyn said, which I thought was really disrespectful and out of line, was she said to Michel'le, I don't even think Stu's good enough for you, so why would I think he's good enough for me? And I was like, wow, Michel'le definitely should have checked her on that, because even if her and Stu are having issues, I would never let another woman talk to my dude like that or about him like that. It was really disrespectful and distasteful. I do like that Ballistic and Stu were able to have a conversation and clear things up, because obviously Jocelyn didn't want to clear things up with Michel'le in a respectful manner. Everyone got called down to the boot camp room to figure out what their test results were for the lie detector test, and Judge Toller ended up telling them that they're not going to be finding out until the next day, which is really the next episode for us, so I'm interested to see what the results were. But she did say that deception was indicated with 4 people, okay? So there's 8 people on the show, 4 of them lied on their lie detector test, and I was thinking that it had to be between Bianca and Chosas, Jocelyn and Ballistic, or Stu and Michel'le, but who really knows? Anybody could be lying at this point. She also drops a bomb on them and lets them know that they will be going out to the club. They will be single for the night. They get to separate into groups of 2, the guys with the guys, the girls with the girls, and they get to enjoy what it's like to be single, because they have to make their final decision in the next episode whether or not they're going to stay together or not. And basically the married couples had to give up their rings, which only Styles P and Ajwa are married in the house, so they're the ones who had to give up their rings. Now the guys seemed more excited to go to the club than the girls did, which is definitely something that was obvious to me. I felt like the girls would be more worried about what the guys were doing at the club, or more worried about what the test results are than the guys were. So that's why it seemed like the guys were more excited to me than the women were. Everyone was getting dressed and ready to go out to the club. Jocelyn and Ballistic were getting into a huge argument in their room. He seemed like he wasn't actually yelling, but Jocelyn was screaming so freaking loud during the argument that production had to go with security to get inside their room, because the doors were locked and they felt like maybe something was serious going on inside the room. And so they ended up having to push the door open because it was locked. And they told Jocelyn and Ballistic not to lock any doors because of safety purposes. Now, I don't know why Jocelyn was yelling at the top of her lungs like that. She was doing a bit too much. I don't think she should have been doing that, but it definitely was a dramatic scene for the episode. While the ladies were on their way to the club, Jocelyn was being rude to Michel'le again, because basically she feels like it's Michel'le's fault why her and Ballistic have been arguing, because Michel'le was the one who told everyone that, Stu was attracted to her. So she was being rude to her throughout the duration of the trip to and from the club. I honestly feel like Michel'le was over it, but she didn't want to cause any drama. So she just let Jocelyn talk, which is annoying to me because I feel like she should have checked her and told her to mind her business a little bit. But the guys seemed like they were enjoying themselves a little too much at the club, okay? They was having a lot of friggin' fun. They were smoking, they were drinking. Stu was really drunk at one point in the club to the point where he got up and walked away from everybody else because when they did the whole little pool party thing, he was being a little bit too friendly with the ladies, and so I guess he didn't want to make the same mistake twice, so he decided to separate himself, which was probably for the best. CeeLo and Chosa seemed like they were having the most fun out of all the other guys at the club. They were dancing, chit-chatting it up with the ladies. I did think that they were getting a little bit too chatty with the ladies at some points, but nothing inappropriate happened, so I think that everything went okay. CeeLo was doing a bit too much, but he is used to getting a lot of attention because of who he is, so I can understand why he was enjoying himself so much, but the ladies looked like they were bored as hell, okay? Bianca was nervous the whole time because all she could think about was the lie detector test. Same with Ajua. The ladies just seemed like they did not want to be at the club at all. They literally just sat there the whole time. They were not having a good time. So in this final scene of the episode, the ladies end up leaving the club early because they're not having a good time at all. I don't know if it was because they're worried about getting the lie detector test results the next day, or if it's because they were wondering what the guys were doing at the club, but they weren't having fun, so they decided to leave early, where Jocelyn kept on talking to Michel'le about her relationship with Stu. I don't understand why she's all up in other people's business so much, especially Michel'le and Stu's, but Michel'le basically brushed it off. She's tired of dealing with the whole Stu situation because right now, at this point, she doesn't even know where her relationship with Stu is going. Now, the guys end up staying late at the club because they're having a good old time, all except for Stu, who got drunk at the club and ended up falling asleep in a booth, which he probably needed those drinks, okay, because he's been under a lot of stress this season. So the episode ended up cutting there. I thought this was a pretty good episode. I really want to see the next episode because I want to see who lied on their lie detector test results, and I also want to know who's going to end up staying together at the end of this. I have a few theories on who's going to stay together and who's not, but there's always a surprise ending. So let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button for me. I appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos, and thank you to all my subscribers for the support. I appreciate you all, and I will see you in my next video.